But I was like, okay, well, at least it wasn't a tower. And the one day he decided to show off is the day that he ended up dying.
Yeah. Like, hey, look what I can do.
Really
yeah, I'm standing right behind the 747. Am I normal?
Yeah, we are in the place to
Hi-ho, GB Mythos here, and welcome to the Little Old People Podcast. I'm here with my co-old person, Mark.
AKA the little black dude. If this is your first time listening, we're two oldish nerds looking at random fandoms from varying directions.
I'm a historian and archaeologist by degree and a former wage slave by trade. Mark is a jeweler, YouTuber, and fellow fan enthusiast. Now, Mark and I enjoy talking about entertainment and media, but there are many aspects of being a nerd, or as the Japanese would have it, an otaku about something. And that doesn't just have to be about pop culture. It can be for an author, it can be for cars, vintage power tools, porcelain dolls in a specific colorway, airplanes, or baseball cards.
Anything that you're enthusiastic about, maybe even bordering on obsessed with, can be otaku.
So let's explore this. Periodically, we here at the Little Old People Podcast will have guest fan enthusiasts join us for an episode and talk to us and you about what they are otaku for. It can be informative as well as entertaining and introduce us to things we have never considered having an enthusiasm for. To that end, Mark and I would like to welcome our first guest fan enthusiast on What's Your Otaku?
My friend Ayal Kashani.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hey, Al. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to say that my name is Ayal, but I'm also on my YouTube and Facebook, AJ from AJ's World. This is your captain speaking. So that's just my geekiness.
Excellent. Shameless plugs. I always appreciate those. And his links will be down below in our descriptions and on the site so that you can go and check out his page as well. Now, let's jump into it. According to Wikipedia, the history of aviation extends for more than 2,000 years, from the earliest forms of aviation, such as kites and attempts at tower jumping, to supersonic and hypersonic flights powered by heavier than air jets. We're all familiar with the Greek legends of Daedalus and his son Icarus, which do discuss flight, but are more allegories about hubris. With the successful launch of the SpaceX rocket Falcon 9, we can truly say that we have opened the door to the stars. Ayal here is an enthusiast for airplanes, and from what I understand, all things aviation. So can you tell us when and where your interest in that began?
Okay, when I was little, the first flight that I remember when I was little was going to California on a vacation, and at first I was a little weary because I thought when I was little, I was like 4 years old. I thought that these commercial airplanes that was gonna flip upside down and do all this crazy stuff. My mom kept saying, no, those are commercial airplanes. So I went on my first flight that I remember, because I was on a flight when I was a baby, but I don't remember that. And then, we went from Newark to California, and then we flew back, to Newark after vacation was over. And I remember before we left, I actually took a peek into the flight deck, and I just seen so many computers and this, and I was impressed. I was like, wow. I mean, of course, that was, when the cockpit was off and there was nobody there. We were like the last ones getting us stuff off the plane. So, and of course, my imagination took over. So I went and opened up there, the flight deck door, and I just looked at it. I was like, oh my goodness, what is all this? So I left the airport with a smile. I was like, ooh, I want to start playing with the airplanes. So that's basically where my interest came into play, so to speak.
Now, did you ever consider working in the aviation industry, or do you work in it?
I have done it. I used to work at Philadelphia Airport for US Air. I was a ground luggage loader, and that's okay. Now, a lot of times when you're waiting for your flight, you see like people just like outside on the ground while you're sitting on the chairs. You see people outside on the ground doing all this stuff, like driving these little baggage carts and loading these luggage on these conveyor belts. That was me.
Okay. Did you ever consider actually becoming a pilot?
Yes, I have. Of course, it's about like $20,000, but at least to get your private license, it's about like $20,000 just to get your private license, and then it's like at least about, I don't exactly know. It depends on the start. This is usually supposed to be a few months, but it depends on how many times you actually. If if you like not work, if you just like taking straight flight school, you need about a certain amount of hours to get your license. But if you can just do like do 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, whatever, if you have the time, then you can get it like that. But it's like some people, they can only do like maybe like an hour a day or whatever, and they're like an hour a week. I mean, it depends on the amount. It also depends on if you're a geek like me, you could actually invent yourself, by doing the simulators and studying books and things like that, and learning the air traffic control jargon. So, hopefully one day you'll be seeing me buzzing around.
Well, with aspirations of being a pilot on your mind, I'm sure that you are really intimately connected to a number of different types of aircraft. Which one do you think is the most unusual that you've come across?
I mean, the most unusual modern one, or the most unusual one in general?
Well, let's say the most unusual modern aircraft.
The Airbus A380, because that's the European super jumbo, the one with the dual double decker, the whole stretch double decker all the way in with the long wings and like the top heavy. It looks like it's not supposed to fly, but you know what? It flies beautifully. It looks like it's, and not only that, but if you look at some of these airlines like Emirates with their first class, they actually have showers in the airplanes.
Okay.
And little apartments. Yeah, Google, look up Emirates first class seatings. They actually have showers and these big comfortable little cabins and all this free stuff. I mean, you're talking like skin stuff, drinks, you name it, you got it. But it costs like about $25,000 just to fly from Dubai to New York.
Holy crap. So you got to be balling to get on one of them suckers.
If they're giving me a private apartment just to make that hop, sure, I'll pay that much.
Yeah, but that to me is like, because it looks top heavy, okay? And it looks like, it's so huge, and the wings are so like big and fat. It doesn't look like it's supposed to fly. It doesn't, but you know what? It's so aerodynamic that it flies like, it actually uses less runway space than the 747. The Airbus A380 uses about 9,020 feet of runway space, fully loaded. Okay, most airports, most 747s that are smaller and thinner use over 10,000 feet. So, yeah.
Wow, that does make a huge difference.
Yeah, It's just taxing that sucker on an airport. You got to clear everything out. I'll tell you a funny story. I was looking at Air France A380 at JFK that was taxiing to go to Paris, and there was a Delta CRJ that was like kind of like it was like kind of like facing like a T, and it clipped the tail and spun this little CRJ around. Like people, it was like whoosh. Like those poor people on the plane got whiplash, especially the front. They were like, whoa.
And Airbus looked at that little plane and said, "Move, bitch, get out the way."
Yeah, that thing is very clumsy on the ground, but once you get it in the air, it's a dream.
That is beautiful. I'm really glad that you went into more detail there. But when somebody is interested but doesn't know where to go with when they're trying to learn more about aviation, are there any specific types of words or jargon that the average person would benefit from if they're trying to understand, and get more into aviation?
Yeah, they have like abbreviations. They like. If you look up, they have like abbreviations for the cockpit voices, and also like if you want to learn the International Phonetic Alphabet, that's like Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. That's what air traffic controllers use to communicate with the airplanes when they want to spell things. And they have like different FAA like apps where you can actually learn like definitions of different things. Like there are short abbreviations for different things. So like instead of tower it's TWR, or instead of runway it's RWY. So it's if you it's information's out there, you just got to seek it.
Very cool. Okay.
I just want to know one thing. If you're going to go through all those abbreviations, and it seems like some of them are actually longer than the words they're supposed to be abbreviating, what's the point of saying TWR when it would just be as fast as say tower? Because you're only taking off 2 letters.
It makes you. Honestly, I think they do it just to make you look smart. Just to say. No, now, like I said, you spell. It's just like a sort of spelling. Like when you say TWR on the flight, on like the flight manifest, when you say TWR, not the check sheet, says TWR checker or aft door shut. This is the rear door. So they just try to make you look smart. That's all. But, just as they pretty much mean, aft means back, Instead of saying the rear door shut, it's the aft door shut, So
makes sense. Since we just recently saw the launch of the first space shuttle from American soil in 11 years now. What did you think and what did you feel about watching the Crew Dragon and the launch of the SpaceX Falcon 9? What was on your mind?
You know what? Honestly, it made me realize that space is a lot closer for the average human being now than before. They have all these companies that are now launching space. The regular people, not NASA scientists, not military, explorers, that just regular people that like you and me, just want to just go out into space. It's coming to a point where people actually can do that. It's expensive right now, but maybe about 200 years or something like that, it'll be you'll be $20, you'll be able to get a space flight.
That would be amazing.
That actually dovetails onto my question, which is, do you think, looking at this trend, that is a boon or a burden, to the future of spaceflight? But do you really think it would take 200 years for the price to come down, considering how fast technology is changing right now?
I'm just guessing. I just threw it out there. Maybe it could be 100 years, 50 years. I don't know for sure because like I said, you look at the cars the way they're evolving. You have a car with a roll down window versus a car now with a touch window, a heated. So same with a cell phone. You had the car phones that you see that was hooked up to the car. It was analog, and now you got basically the whole world in your hand. So. But it could be. It could be 100 years, it could be 50 years. I don't know. I just threw it out there like that, you never know. First they're going to have the rich people, then they're going to have the next group of people, then they're going to have anybody. So,
That's just how things go when it comes to stuff like that, because people with disposable income are like, I think I want to go to the moon this weekend.
Yeah,
how about you? That kind of thing.
Exactly. So,
So if a person's interested in planes and interested in flying, what advice would you give them to, make it easier to start learning about the subject?
There's so much information out there. If you really have your heart set on it, just look it up. Now you have access on your phone to anything. Apps are out there. Websites. Books in the library, magazines. You can go to your local airport. And just talk to people. One of the most things that a lot of people don't do is communicate with other people. I went to the local airport in Millville or Turnersville, right by me. I talked to pilots. I asked them. I got a friend of mine who's a pilot for Southwest. It's just got to reach out. Don't just stay in a box. There's a whole world out there. If you're passionate about something, just seek it.
Do you consider using flight simulators or games like that as a way to give you a semi-genuine experience of flying, or to at least familiarize yourself with the cockpit? Are they as true to life as you think they should be?
Now more than ever, they've evolved in so much. Because I remember when the first flight simulator came out, Microsoft 93, Flight Simulator 93, it was the graphics of it were but now it's you can look at a single switch and you can actually read what it is, And not only that, but a lot of people actually start their training on them. So.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. A lot of people they do on right now when the time is for not a lot of people are flying, so people are at home just keep sharpening up their skills and doing different scenarios, and then actually go to a real flight simulator. But it's almost the same. You have the basic cockpit layout of whatever plane you're doing. You're okay, this button does this switch does this lever does this. You can put scenarios and try to landing a plane in a snowstorm, or flying through crazy turbulence, or having an emergency situation like an engine shutting off and trying to land, in an airport, without without crashing and everything. So these things are to real life. Can you actually register? No, but they can sharpen your skills up to actually when you want to. This way you can actually get to a real flight simulator, just because most of the time, right now, you have to do one takeoff and one landing every 3 months, for right now.
Wow.
So you can actually practice every day, while you're home, not really doing much, you just keep practicing, and then you go to your flight simulator that's actually for the FAA, and then you do a takeoff and you land, and then this way you'll be able to, keep your job. So, but yeah, I recommend if you want to actually, learn how to get a flight simulator. Flight simulator from Microsoft or, Flight X or whatever. Any of them are good. So
a while back, you had called me, and we talked for a little while about a museum that you were rather excited about. So could you share for our listeners a little bit about the TWA Terminal exhibit you told me about?
Oh, okay. So John F. Kennedy Airport, they had the original TWA Terminal before they shut it down because TWA was bought out by American Airlines after the...
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because before that you would see TWA, and then after... Like a lot of these airlines, they merge together, so you don't see Northwest, you don't see Continental because it's all Delta, and all that stuff. So TWA, now what they never did was they never tore down the Terminal 6 because it was a historic landmark. Now, if you walk in there, I remember my father took my brother to Israel right after the Flight 800 crash. Yeah, and I actually seen so they shut it down in 2001, so they built all these other areas around it, but they didn't want to tear it down. So a couple years ago, somebody built the hotel. So now you walk in there, and you're back into the 1960s. I'm telling you something.
Oh, cool.
You walk into that terminal, it's like you're back. You walk into the entrance. They have an old 1960s car just parked out there, and what you do is you take the air train to Terminal 5, and then you just walk across the street. You walking in there, you're back in the. I'm telling you, you just you're not into the lobby is like the 1960s, and they actually have 2 hotels. They got a rooftop pool, which you actually overlook the runway. They have a rooftop bar. They got an actual 1940s Lockheed Constellation airplane that's sitting in the back in between. They turn it into a bar. It's called the Connie Bar. I mean, I'm telling you.
That's cool.
Yeah, and not only that, but they have a gift shop where you have all this old TWA stuff like shirts, towels, amenity kits, you name it, pens, you name it, you got it. And they have hotel rooms that are there. And it's funny because there's an elevator that's goes to the JetBlue terminal, and it says TWA Hotel 1960s, JetBlue Terminal 5 modern day today. I'm telling you something. When you're walking in there, you're oh my God, I'm not even at an airport. Because you know how it is when you need to travel and you have all this TSA nonsense and long ticketing lines. Back then, only the very elite few used to fly. So it was such a pleasure from what my grandmothers used to tell me and my mom. Because they used to fly to Israel all the time. And they said it was nothing like it is today. Today's long crowds and, everybody's just going crazy at these airports, and then baggage is getting lost and all this and that. So I'm telling you, you actually walk in there, and you're going back in time to the Howard Hughes era. They also have Howard Hughes' office in there, too.
Cool.
Yeah,
he actually came out of his house long enough to have an office anywhere.
he had all the TWA terminals back in because actually TWA was actually headquartered in New York, so they have his office there, and they have an old type of reading area too, where they have old books and stuff like that. It's really cool. I'm telling you.
Okay, I kind of want to see this now.
Yeah.
I'm not even that big into aviation, and I want to see this. I can 100% agree with you.
It's history. See, that's the thing. It's not only aviation, but it's history. Mm-hmm. And you said you're a history buff. I'm telling you, you go in there.
Oh, absolutely.
You go in there, and you're just and they still got that clock. That's the middle, that old clock. Look it up. This is and they have the boards that go.
Oh, I love those. They have one of those in the Philly train station. I love that.
They don't have it no more, but they still have that over there. And they have old time flights that are going. They're not connected to anything today, but they just have as a something for display flight 14 to St. Louis, flight 85 to Paris. It's really cool. It's really cool. When they have people in costumes, I'm telling you, you'll love it. Google it when you get a chance. Just look it up.
That sounds like an anthropologist's dream.
It is.
Man. See, this is the reason why I wanted you to be on here. Anyone who hears the way you describe stuff will be like, okay, I have no idea why I wasn't interested in this beforehand. I need to see what this dude was talking about.
Yeah.
I'm adamant. What can I say? That is true. With that said, one of the things that we've talked about over the years is you enjoy watching takeoffs and landings of different types of planes. Now, which do you prefer? Are you more excited by takeoffs or are you more excited by landings?
I have no preference, but I'll tell you, I like to be alongside of a runway or behind a runway. Now, like I said, I'll give you an example. I go to Newark Airport a lot, okay? And like a lot of times I like to go to the parking lot, the long-term parking lot 6, and I'm like literally right under the takeoff path of the airport, the takeoff and landing path of the airport. You know, so to me, I like them both. Now, of course, like I mean, if you're gonna ask me like if I wish what I really prefer to see over my head, I prefer landings because takeoffs they like take off back there and it's like a little higher, but landings is like right over my head. I mean, it's like and people think I'm nuts, but you know what? It's like I have the sunroof down in my car. Actually, I've fallen asleep there a few times. Like I'll just park over there in a perfect spot. I'll have the sunroof open. I'll just be like count one, like counting sheep, but I'm counting airplanes. I fall asleep. I'm telling you. But and then the funny thing is also I remember one time I was with a friend of mine at JFK and I seen this Asiana Cargo 747 getting towed. So then they took off the tow truck as he was like kind of facing like turn. So and he started the engines up. So my genius, I went to the back of the plane, like where the fence was, as I felt the jet blast coming in. I'm like, I was like, and they were calling. My friend was calling me, like, "Yo, AJ." I'm like, "What? I can't hear you." And that thing is kicking up dust and everything. I mean, I'm standing right behind a 747. Am I normal?
No,
I don't think so.
No, you aren't. That's why you're on this podcast
exactly.
right now.
I'm telling you, people always ask me, people always tell me, you're crazy. I'm like, you're just figuring that out now? Like yesterday, I went up to Port Newark Elizabeth Marine Terminal, and I was telling him about it. And I went on live, just driving around the seaport because those, one of those massive cargo ships. Mm-hmm. And I was like, going in and out of the areas and like, U-turning and things like that. And I was like, oh yeah, I can't go in there because there's a gate that I don't want to get arrested by Homeland Security. Mm-hmm. So my friend called. I told my, so I called my friend. I was like, yo, did you like the video? He's like, yo, you're crazy as hell. And I was like, dude, you know me for a long time. Are you just starting to realize that now? Like, I thought you knew me. I mean, people ask me all the time, are you right? I'm like, no, I'm half left. Thank you for asking, though.
These are the kind of conversations that really get people excited and get them worked up on what they like. So for you specifically, who is it that you share your fandoms with? Are there like groups online that you belong to, or are there any gatherings?
There's actually people that I know that that I actually physically know that like the stuff like I do. Like they don't live in South Jersey too much. There's a few but most of them live like in North Jersey. And like we go to airline collectible show conventions and things like that, and we just sit there and talk about this stuff all the time. And we go to the airport together. But there's a bunch of us. There is actually a bunch of us, So.
Are there any enthusiast clubs or anything like that you're a part of? I
mean, not really like clubs, just like people that we know, Like I'll call my friend up and I'll be, yo, guess what happened? This airline's merging with this, or this airline's coming to Newark Airport. They're like, oh wow, and then they'll tell me stuff, like whatever. Like we feed off each other, but that's like an unofficial type of thing, But we just feed off each other.
It might be something you want to consider for the future there, because it does sound like kind of an untapped place there. If you can, expand a little bit more for people who might be interested but don't think that there's anybody else out there. Because I personally did not know that there were groups of people who were into aviation the way that you are until I met you. Right. I was like, okay, there's people who like this stuff. All right, cool.
I did put stuff out there, like groups on Facebook, like Northeastern aviation sites and things like that, late enthusiasts, But, it's just like I said, like when I'm always busy, I always do a million things, but like every time I see an airplane, I'll stop and look.
And he will. And he definitely will.
Do you have one of those apps on your phone that tells you what the flight is and where it's going?
I got like about 20 of them apps.
Oh my gosh.
I have a lot of people that fly, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna track you. So I'll put their flight information, and I'll just like track them. Like, okay, they're over Georgia, they're coming back, they're over Tennessee, or they're over Europe, or whatever. So I track everybody. I'm like a stalker when it comes to that. I'm like, I'm gonna stalk your plane. Make sure you get there safe, but I'm gonna stalk your plane.
Please keep in mind, he is not saying that to people he doesn't know. It is someone that he is aware of. He is not just, trying to find pilots. Please do not try and sue us.
and the funny thing is that I had to pick up my mother from Atlantic City Airport. So I was following her on the app because, she was coming in along the show, and then she started to turn inward. So I was like, okay, I have a feeling my mom's gonna land on that runway. That's going that way. The plane came in and zoop, she came right on the same runway. I'm like, I win! I knew it! Oh yeah.
For the folks that are listening that want to find more out about this, here we are going to include some links to a couple of groups as well as the names of some applications for both iOS and Android that you might want to look into if you want to find some more of that. You'll be able to find those in the description as well.
Now, given the number of centuries that man has been attempting to break gravity, as it were, and attempt to reach for the stars, are there any historical flights or attempts at flights that you find either poignant or amusing?
I remember hearing about some king. I forget who it was, but he had like this wax wings that were made like of wax paper, and he jumped off this castle and kind of like took a nosedive. But it's like, the attempt was there, but what, I'll tell you something. Orville and Wilbur got it right, because there were gliders at the time, there were balloons, but Orville and Wilbur actually got it right, They looked at, they studied how they actually studied the way the wings were on birds, and but it's like I said, it's not the fact that I can't really see. I saw that a lot of these people that ended up killing, they tried, I'll give it to them that, but it's just like, they should have instead of them jumping from the top of their castle, they should have jumped from at least like a low bridge, like a low bridge, and just jump into the water, So it's...
Actually, in doing the research for this episode, I actually found there was one aviator, and I'll include a link to the article I found his name in. I can't remember it right off the top of my head, though. He was actually during the Middle Ages and it was during the Victorian period. He would actually practice his jumps from a hill that he built on his property, and he did like over 100 jumps before it finally killed him. And he was just doing gliding, but I was like, okay, well, at least it wasn't a tower. And the one day he decided to show off is the day that he ended up dying.
Yeah. Like, hey, look what I can do.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, visiting the Air and Space Museum has always been fun and interesting, no matter how many times I go. I think I've gone at least 4 or 5 times. What exhibits did you see while you were at the Smithsonian that you enjoyed or would like to, or what kind of exhibits would you like to see if you could design your own?
Well, personally, the way I am, I love aviation as a whole, but I'm specifically into like commercial jets. I've always loved the commercial jets. That's like, I like other planes, like, I like light planes and fighter jets and balloons and helicopters, but I always love the commercial jets. That's just been a thing of mine, So, of course, now I actually recently went to the Air and Space Museum last year, and I kind of find it disappointing because they're remodeling almost the whole thing, and I was like, I was heartbroken. But and I said to them, I was like, instead of you guys doing a section here, section here, section there, do one section at a time, if I have to cut one out, that's fine, but I was disappointed. So instead of that day, like the next day, I took my brother to the airport to Washington National Airport, and then there's like a park over there called Gravity Point Park, and it's like right at the edge of the runway, and we were just seeing them come in. So it was like an aviation tour, that whole, and plus we were staying by BWI Airport, so we were. It was good. It's just I told the people, I was like, you guys should have just done one section at a time. Finish that, then do the next section. Not do the whole freaking thing. That was
yeah.
Hey, there's so many places that are open to the public like that will do it in exactly the same way. Hell,
Yeah.
amusement parks do that.
I know.
They won't try and update every ride at the same time. They'll shut one down and refurbish it or change it into something else and then move to another place, that kind of thing. It would make more sense that way because you can still have people coming in and being able to enjoy it. So I'm definitely with you on that. When I think about the impact of travel on most things, not a lot of us think about it as being its own thing. Yeah. However, because I love movies and TV shows, there's a ton of things that I can think of, like off the top of my head, where that was part of the main thrust of the show. Are there any movies or TV shows that are centered around flight or travel that really did something for you or caught your interest?
Pushing 10. John Cusack, Billy Bob Thornton, Angelina Jolie, Kate Blanchett. That movie. Let me tell you something. That movie is what I talked to a couple people that were actually pilots. They said that movie is the closest thing to a real air traffic controller. There's a couple other ones too, but that movie is like the closest thing to an actual day in the life of of aviation and especially it was set around New York. Now, New York, as you guys know, is the busiest airspace in the world. Mm-hmm. There was planes that crisscrossing and going different altitudes. And what it is you have the New York en route center, and then you have the terminal radar approach and control and departure control, which is basically planes going between 5,000 to 14,000 feet. And that's basically what the movie was set around because, you have basically, when you're coming into New York, let's say you're coming from Honolulu to Newark, and you got to come, but first you got to come into the New York Air Route Center, which covers, a vast area. And then when you're going to circle, when you want to get closer to, the New York City area, you got to come down into it's a holding pattern. That's what those controllers did, and you can tell it's very stressful because, 1 minute you're clear, the next minute you got a plane coming right at you, the next minute you got a plane going under you, and then outside. I mean, that's how it's like a typical sort of dance that is choreographed. But highway to the sky.
Da 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 plane.
Yeah. And then of course when after they finally are cleared to their airport, then they get to the local tower control. But that is basically because see, I saw that movie and back in 2000 I think it was when it came out.
I believe so.
I thought that's how I actually got the gist about how because I always thought that planes go from they just fly, having a big en route center. I didn't know that they actually had, a center that controls, from a certain amount before they actually come down to the local tower. I thought it was from tower to tower, basically. So, but yeah.
It was 1999, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, 1999, yeah. Late 99, I saw it in 2000 when it came out on video. But, I mean, yeah, it was a good movie.
We are hardly one-dimensional creatures. So what other fandoms or interests do you have?
Oh, yeah, I like, planes. I like I like trains, I like coach buses, I like tractor trailers, I like big, ocean liners and big cargo vessels. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like motorcycles. I like a lot of stuff. I like, cities. I like, I just like a lot of stuff. That's why I said yesterday when I drove through the Port North Elizabeth Marine Terminal, I saw those big cranes that were there. I saw those big cargo ships, and then there was another time when I was at the train station. And I had to drop my sister off, and it was like I didn't have to go to it was like a Saturday, and it was in there early afternoon, so I wasn't gonna go to the bar till later on that night. But so I was just sitting there watching the trains go by, and then I seen a train coming in from Florida going into New York for its final terminal destination, but it wasn't going anywhere for a little bit. So I walked over and to the front, and I was just wondering what was going on with this train because it was there for a lot longer than the normal was. Then I seen a train coming from the New York direction coming into the station, and then I saw them pulling right in front of it. So I'm just sitting there, just watching them hook up everything, the cables, the hook, all that stuff, the brake line, the hydraulic line, and all that. And then the guy turns around to me and says, "It's not something you see every day." And I was like, "No," but it just had my interest, just seeing them, transfer this new engine to this dead engine that needed to be repaired. So I was like, "Wow." Really cool. So anything that sparks my interest, I just look at it, you know.
So you did talk about different styles of aircraft, like the Airbuses and things like that. Are there any others that you prefer, like American versus French or civilian versus military?
Well, see, I'm always a Boeing fan. I've always been a Boeing fan. Airbus I like too, but I've always, well, I mean, of course, being American, I mean, yeah, but. But now, of course, I don't mind Airbus, but the ones I do not like are the Russian ones, the Tupolev and the Ilyushin. I'm not really a big fan of them, but my favorite all-time plane is the Boeing 727-200. I don't know why, I just love that plane, I mean, and of course, that thing is so loud, too. It's not like these quiet ones today with the hush kits of the engines. That thing, you heard that thing, I'm like, oh, it was so cool to see that. So, but yeah, that's my all-time favorite plane is the 727-200.
I just pulled up an image for it, and it is actually pretty cool looking.
Yeah. That thing is sleek.
Yeah, the specific one that came up on Wikipedia here is for Iberia Airlines, which I had been on when I went to Spain.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an interesting thing to see.
Yeah. I also like the MD-80, which is in turn short. That was the Mad Dog, they always call it. But they're actually retiring very soon, but that's another loud one. So, but yeah, it's a nice little plane. But of course, everybody calls it the Mad Dog. Sounds loud. But yeah, I mean, I like a lot of different types of planes. But like I said, if it flies and I'll turn, and it's like I'll turn my head and look at it.
I see. That's the whole reason why fandom is such an important thing, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on. Right. Because again, there's a lot of times where people hear the word fandom and they think, oh, this is a person that collects comic books, or this is a person who likes watching movies, or this is a person who is into animation or stuff like that. And there's a lot of times where a person's really enthusiastic about something that doesn't fall into those categories. Right. So it's not something that's so narrow that you have no capability of being outside of that. Yeah, so the fact that, first off, you were able to rattle all of the stuff that you have off the top of your head says a lot about how deep you've gotten into this. Yeah. Second, the fact that you have anecdotes, you have favorite airplanes, and you have different places that you've gone to as far as locations, and just been able to describe it. It's the same thing as when somebody asks me, so, why do you like Green Lantern so much? Oh, if you have a few minutes, let me tell you.
Exactly.
Those kind of things are necessary when a person's idea of what an otaku is, or what a person who's in a fandom, or someone who's a real fanatic about something. Those are the things that people have forgotten. Because let's be honest, fanatic is something that is a much broader term. Yeah. But we've gotten so used to the modern connotation of just fitting into certain spots. Right. So it's definitely an eye-opener to see just how deep this kind of thing can actually go.
Yeah. And I can tell you, like I said, I can tell you guys a couple of stories when I was working at the airport.
Oh, let's hear one of those.
Okay, so we were back in a plane we were holding a plane that was going to taxi to the runway to go to Boston. There was a plane that was coming in from Albany, but so we as ground crew we had to hold planes until the other planes were clear. So now, mind you, okay, that day was like a hot summer in August. There was no wind. That sun was just beating on me. So I was like, I was tired. So that plane, started to turn, and now everybody hid behind the truck because of the jet blast. Now I'm just sitting there, I'm just like holding my hand like this on the engine of the truck. I felt this wind coming off of me. I was like, oh my God, this is such a relief. Oh, Lord have mercy. Everybody else is hiding behind the truck. So they said after the plane taxied into the gate and then we let our plane go, one of the people was like, why'd you do that? You could have gone, it was jet blast. I was like, dude, it was so hot out there. I don't care if I was behind a 747 at full power. It was hot. That plane would have blown me. I would have been like,
I'm glad we didn't lose you that way, but
you're really.
Well, this was a small plane. This was a small plane, so it was like only an Embraer E190, so it wasn't that big of a plane. And like I said, the blast from the engine actually was like such a relief because it was hot that day. Okay,
been there. I have been there.
And then another funny story. Okay, I was we were loading another plane that was going to Boston, and I felt like this bag was like, vibrating. So someone else had pointed it out, so they tossed it to me. I was like, give you like a carry. So I was like, I know what it is.
Uh-oh.
Somebody's gonna have fun. And then one more story. There was a plane coming in from Atlanta, and we were offloading it. And I found a cooler with beer, corn, and steak in the plane. That was like, and they taped it up, but apparently they didn't do a good job because there was like corn on the cob and like packaged steak and beer all over the plane. I mean, they were all.
Okay.
I'm like thinking to myself, like, man, all I need is a barbecue. We'll have a freaking barbecue now. Beer, corn, and steak. Why not?
I have many questions. How did they get that through security?
Exactly.
It was underneath. They put it in underneath. It's just that they didn't tape. They did not do a good job taping because when you're flying, a lot of times, with the bump and the turbulence, things like can open. So I'm like literally like putting all the corn. I mean, they're all packaged, of course, but I'm putting corn back in there, putting beer, putting steak, and I'm just like closing and banging the damn cooler. And I'm like, okay, here, whoever's cooler this is, I hope they have fun because I was like in the mood for steak. I haven't had lunch yet. I was hungry.
How did the beers not explode when it took off or landed from the chip pressure change?
I'm sure it probably did. Like when they actually opened it, I'm sure it probably blew up in their face. And if it did, I would be laughing my ass off. And then, of course, one of my friends who was working there with me left his phone on the flight to Fort Lauderdale. I'm like, well, your phone is going to be going bye-bye. Because that phone ain't coming back.
Your cell is going to go get attacked.
I'm telling you, I was done. I was done. It was hysterical. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh my god, this is so wonderful. This is so wonderful. Oh god. So one more time, I just want to make sure that we get this in so that anybody who wants to check out some of the videos that you were talking about, would you let us know where we can find them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, for example, you have a YouTube channel, correct?
Yeah.
Can you let us know what that is there?
Yeah, my YouTube channel is Fly EWR1907. That's my YouTube channel. I mean, I have like basically like I got like a lot of transportation stuff there in general. So, but and also my I got Facebook Live. For my name is Ayal Kashani. Mainly my YouTube channel is like anybody can subscribe to that. But I mean, like I said, I like to entertain. Especially right now with the way things are going on in this world. Everything is just so crazy and just like so horrible things. So I was like, I just like to entertain. I want to give everybody a peace of mind. I want to give everybody to say, you know what, it's we can relax. Just have a little vacation in our mind and just watch airplanes, watch this, watch that. So
And I can't say anything bad about that. Not even a little bit, because having something that can distract you from what's going on and give you at least a little bit of joy when things aren't exactly, the best that they could be. Yeah. That's what fandom is all about. Yeah. And I can't begin to tell you how happy I am that we invited you.
And I appreciate you guys inviting me. I mean, this is my first podcast. I've always wanted to do a podcast. I've always wanted to do it.
Amusingly enough, that's how this got started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this to you a long time ago about that.
I think we did. Well, one night when we were out at the bar, we were just sitting around. Like, it would be cool to do it, but I don't know. I think we were both kind of in that same vein at the time. But yes, definitely good that this is happening now. I'm very happy.
Yeah, it's funny. I see podcasts from all the time. Like it's like WWE. I see podcasts on politics. I see so many podcasts on so many different things, and like it's always like you never know. Somebody out there might actually have an interest in this. They might spark something up, So it's always good to have something like that.
Absolutely.
Especially the way the world's going on. It's like so much devastation, so much craziness going on. It's like just to have a mind escape,
Definitely. Any final thoughts, Captain Sama?
No, but I appreciate Ayals coming out here today and talking to us. I really, really do. This has been entertaining. This has been fun. We all had a few good laughs. And yes, I hope somebody else might be interested in this. I mean, I love planes too, but mostly from the I like to be the passenger, aspect of it. So this is, giving me some interesting insights as well that I would have never considered. So I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you very, very much.
I appreciate you guys having me. And like I said, if anybody ever wants to reach out to me, I'm always, my YouTube channel, my Facebook, my Instagram. It's like I said, I like to entertain. I like to make everybody feel. But if I can change one person's, mood, hey, that's all good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Exactly.
I absolutely love it. So. Now, if you are having a down mood and you want to listen to some ridiculousness coming from a couple of oldish nerds there, places that you can find us are our link tree. The link tree is linktr.ee/Little Old People Podcast. All of our social media is available there. You'll be able to find the podcast. You'll be able to find my YouTube channel. You'll also be able to find our Facebook, our Twitter, so that you can follow some of the things that we've got going on and make suggestions and things of that nature for future topics. If you would like to use your RSS, you can find us on Sounder at littleoldpeoplepodcast.sounder.fm. And Facebook, of course, facebook.com/littleoppodcast. Twitter at littleoppodcast as well. And if you'd like to send us an email telling us how great or terrible we might be, you can email us at littleoldpeoplepodcast@gmail.com.
All right, very good. Thanks for being here, Ayal, again. Very, very much. I appreciate it. Mark, you and I, we're off.
Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.